Well, hello, all my Be in Demand listeners. And today we are going to be talking about your speaking style. Yes, you need to decide what kind of a speaker you're going to be, what your speaking style, or like how you're going to make the audience feel, or well, like what's the persona that you're going to come out with. You need to decide all of that beforehand and not let the audience or critics decide what kind of a speaker you are. This is something that I worked on and had started working on when I was doing executive leadership coaching, and I was working with high-level executives. I would always ask them, because when I was called in, we were typically doing work on the team. So we're doing 360 evaluations. And even before we go over the results of their 360, I am asking them questions like, what kind of a speaker do you want to be? And a lot of times, most of my clients didn't know. And the exact same question I started asking my clients when I came into the online world, I would ask them, well, okay, what kind of speaker do you want to be? And most people had never thought about it. And that's why I wanted to come on and address this now with this episode about deciding on your style. So what I'm going to share with you today, you literally can use in any area of your life. What is your parenting style going to be? What is your coaching style going to be? What's your customer service going to be like for your clients? What's your leadership style going to be? If you've got team members, you're leading, even if it's one person, you are leading that one person. So what kind of a speaker do you want to be? So here's why this is so important. And before I go there, I'm just going to continue with the executive leadership story. So one of the things that I found, again, before we dove into the results of their 360, is they would usually be looking up above them, meaning if you can imagine an organizational chart, okay, so this person's my boss, so this is two persons ahead. If that's their style, that must be what I'm supposed to do in order to get to that position. And you're just going to become a carbon copy of somebody else. You're just going to become a copy of somebody else. I just had to say that twice. And there's already one person, and there's no you if you are copying somebody else. So that's number one. Do not copy someone else. And I want you to decide what your speaking style is going to be. And I usually tell clients to pick 3 words or short phrases that can best describe you as a speaker. And so the reason why this is so important is because then it becomes the lens through which you are speaking. It becomes the lens of how you are crafting your presentation. So in other words, if you want to be a humorous speaker and you craft your whole presentation and then you notice there's not one joke or sarcastic comment, whatever your sense of humor is, there's not one joke in here. Well, then you have to go back in and we have to make it funny. We get to decide how funny it's going to be. So that's why this is so important. So for me, I want to be inspiring, easy going, meaning, I'm up there on the stage and I'm one of the audience. I'm no special snowflake, I'm just like them. So I want to be very easygoing, and I also want to be approachable. So I'm inspiring, I'm easygoing, and I want to be influential. Influential in the sense of I want my audience to think differently. I want my audience to walk away and have something tangible to actually do, and not have to spend weeks trying to get something ready to actually implement. I've always wanted my audience to actually walk away with a gold nugget that they could use and implement in their lives as soon as they left the meeting or the conference that I was speaking at. So that's the lens that I craft my stories, my presentation, all the different tips is all looked at through this lens. So what's your speaking style going to be? If you're watching this or you're listening to this, press pause and just think about this for a few minutes. Answer the question, what do I like? What do I want my audience to say about me? And that's not because you're like kind of journaling on this or you're thinking about this in the future. You're not letting the audience decide because you're deciding that right now. I want to know, what do you want to hear from them? And does, like, just to give you a starting off point, what kind of speaker do you want to be? There are so many different speakers and speaking styles that are out there, but you get to be uniquely you and decide today what that style is going to be. So I'm just going to assume that you did press pause and welcome back here. And I'm super curious to what you did come up with. So I want to encourage you to shoot me a DM either over on Facebook or Instagram, wherever you're following me. Make sure you're on my email list and let me know, like, what 3 words or short phrases did you come up with? I love hearing from my audience. And if you've ever reached out to me or have ever replied to one of my emails, you know that it is me that actually answers and not some team member, because I want to feel connected to my audience. That would be like sending somebody else to do my speaking opportunities. And I'm never going to do that. It's going to be me that shows up. I'm the one that has the meetings with the meeting planners. I'm the one who does my interviews with representatives of the audience. That's for another show, why I do that. But I'm the one who does that because I'm the one who's crafting and customizing a presentation for people. So what's your style going to be? And again, you get to think about, like, okay, so what kind of leader do I want to be? When I used to share this exercise with the executive clients that I was working with, it really made them think for a moment. As soon as I said, like, hey, you can't do what somebody else did that's up above you. You need to show up as the leader that you're going to be. You need to just be you, because that's the best leader that you can be, and not a carbon copy of somebody else, not trying to mimic and model somebody else's leadership style. Because trust me, it won't feel real. You'll actually have more influence and better corporate engagement if you are just you. So again, if you're an online business owner, if you are a coach, a virtual assistant, a service-based professional, how do you want to be known? What's your work going to be like? What's the transformation? Let's think about these short phrases, like your unique style. And this is, like in the world of copy, like we come up with certain phrases, and words. I've worked myself with a couple of copywriters, and I've also had the opportunity, I'm just obsessed with words and writing, because speaking is just verbal copy, but it's amazing what those words can do. Like when you suddenly, it's like, oh, that's my style. So you get to read some social media posts that maybe you wrote when you weren't really in a good mood. And it's like, you can see, like, wow, this is not funny. This is not inspiring. This is not laid back. Whatever your words are, you get to look at it. And for myself, being able to look at, my presentations, whether I'm evaluating like a video or listening to an audio, or even just like watching some of my videos, I see how I've evolved. So whatever words you do pick, know that they may change in 6 months. They may change next year. They may stay the same for 5 years. And then one day you're going to be like, hey, I need to like really, really reevaluate this. What kind of a speaker do I want to be moving into this part of my life? Or maybe it's a new industry that you're going to be working in. So you get to decide, like, what is my style going to be? And I always tell people, like, you want to decide what that is and not let other people decide it for you. Don't let them tell you what kind of a speaker you are. You decide what kind of a speaker you're going to be. You decide what kind of a coach you're going to be. You decide what kind of a leader you're going to be. And again, we are just looking at it through this lens. So this is like one of the very first things that we do inside both my program, In Demand Signature Speech, And there are some changes that are coming to that program the next time we run it and launch it. But also with my private clients, like I want to know, like, what kind of a speaker do you want to be? The funny thing is that some of my clients are hilarious. They are naturally funny and they don't even think that they're that funny. So I usually have to tell them, like, I think you need to add humor to one of your phrases, because that's something that seems to come very natural to you, whether it's a sarcastic sense of humor or another version of humor. But that's one of the first things that I like to do with my clients, because again, we start looking, like, it becomes a lens. And I get to call out my clients, like if I feel like a story that they're trying to tell is being told in like a different style that is them. Let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to looking through that lens. Like, how do we change that story so that it is in your style? So this style, thing, like, don't overlook it, because this is how, not just the whole how you're going to get known, but it's almost like your brand. It becomes very consistent with every speech that you give, with every time that you show up on a podcast, with every video that you create, with every client that you work with every team meeting that you have. Here is you being your style. And it's also a great way just to remember, like, hey, this is me being a speaker. I am being the speaker when I am inspiring and down to earth, have a little bit of sarcasm, that New England sarcasm, that people recognize. That's me. That's part of my speaking brand. Speaker style, they're kind of the same thing, but I really like to call them, like, it's your speaking style, your coaching style, your leadership style. Decide on that and put a sticky note and remind yourself of your words, so that you can easily, all you're doing is you're training your nervous system, your subconscious mind, to actually step into that. And you're going to be that kind of a speaker. You're going to be that kind of a leader. So there are all sorts of words that you can be. You can be inspiring, serious, hilarious, comical, the list goes on. You could be like soft and quiet, the best, like a storyteller. That maybe being a storyteller is part of your style. Showing people, like, using metaphors or analogies, maybe that's going to be part of your style. So you decide, what kind of a speaker are you going to be? Like, what's your speaking brand? What's your entrepreneur brand? What's your online brand? Your podcasting guest brand? If you have a podcast, what's your podcasting host brand like? What's your style when you're doing your podcast? The funny thing is one of the things that I've noticed in having a podcast for over 2 years, we're rapidly approaching 200 episodes here. And it's just like, my podcasting style and muscle has definitely evolved over the 200 episodes. And I can even say that for being a guest. I've been guesting on podcasts for a number of years, and I can just see that every time, just like when I speak, every time I'm on somebody else's podcast, I'm a little bit better. Every time I'm on a stage, I get a little bit better. Every time I'm recording my own podcast, I'm getting a little bit better. Now I'm at the point where I've just, like, my team has said, like, hey, we need to get more video over on YouTube, not just the guest episodes. So that's why I'm recording these now on video also. So if you are the sort of person who really does like to listen to podcasts or watch podcasts over on YouTube, just know that you can hop on over to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/LA-Murabito. So until next time, I want to wish you all a great week. Be in demand, because you should always be in demand. And if you are the sort of person that you're like, you know what, I want to step into being that speaker. I want to know and really craft my own speaker style and have a presentation that has the 3 C's to get the 3 R's. And those 3 C's are You want your presentation to be compelling, captivating, and converting so that you get the 3 R's, which is you want your audience to be raving about you, remembering you, and then referring you to others. That's what you want. So if you are tired of doing the whole social media, like posting, wheel, like the picture a hamster wheel, if you're tired of doing that and you just want to get in front of audiences that are filled with your ideal clients, then send me a DM or book some time on my calendar. To book a call, it's chatwithla.com, and we'll talk about your business and if I think that you're right to work with me for one of my programs. And I recently just opened up 2 new slots to work with me privately. So if that's something, if you're like, I'm not a group program person, I'm not a short, like temporary type, intensive type person, I like to work with a coach, like chat with me. Let's have a conversation, because you might be perfect for a private one-on-one situation, or you might be perfect, depending on your situation, to do an intensive with me. And I will share more information and details about what both of those actually look and feel like. So till next week, be in demand, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging out with me. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And join me over in my private Facebook group for more tips, community, and free trainings. You'll find the link in the show notes. You can also help this podcast reach more listeners by leaving a review. And as a thank you, each month I pick one of my reviewers to win a free coaching call with me. So if you haven't done so already, please leave a review and you could be the next winner.